Okay, so continuing on to the next step, now that we've added our clips in our video group by adding media here, we have reduced the length of our clips and we have added transitions. So now we need to add some title slide at the beginning and a couple more slides at the end. So what we need to do is we need to know what size we're working with. And if you recall, we were working with 1980 by or 1920 by 1080. How can we double check that though? So if we click on the clip, we can go under the image menu down to image size. And with that, we can see up here the dimensions 1920 by 1080. Okay, great. So how are we going to create our new slide? Well, we're going to need a new document. That document is going to be under film and video again. Or sorry, we're going to go to web and we need a 1920 by 1080 right here. Okay, so there's our 1920, 1080, 72 dots per inch, RGB color, and once again, we can choose a color for our background, or we can choose a preset for black. Don't forget to name it. So this particular one is going to be called Title Slide. And in here, we need to click with our text tool and we're going to type in Life Movie. It's our title slide. However, nicely up here, we have white as our background. If you do not have a color picked, if it's black and you're trying to type on black, well, you'll never see it. So what you want to do is select your color, and I'm going to stay with the white color here, but you can choose anything you wish. Just make sure that it's legible over the black background. So you'll want something lighter and brighter. You can choose your font here in the font palette here. Notice we don't really have a lot of font options. I'm going to choose something. I'm just going to stay with DIN Condensed, which comes with a Macintosh computer, which is a basic. I'm going to keep it bold, and the type size is 117 at the moment. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to increase it to the largest size you can. You can always type in a larger size if you wish. Also, the other thing I want to take a look at is I'm going to center all my text on my slides. So I'm also going to set that up too. So take advantage of setting up everything across the top here. If you want even more options, you can click on this little file folder, which will give you more character styles. So all uppercase, bold, all those great things that you need. You can condense it. You can add letter spacing. Lots of great options here, like we have in the other Adobe products like Illustrator and InDesign. So now I'm going to click and drag a box from corner to corner in order to type. Now usually in Photoshop I tell you just click and type, but in this particular case if we click and drag a box to fill the whole area, this is as far as we can go. So there's my Life Movie. I'm going to highlight my text and using Control Shift greater than, it's pretty slow going, or what I can do is type in a bigger type size. I'm going to click on my move tool right here and I'm going to move this whole thing down. Now pay attention to those pink lines because they're telling you whether you're centered or not in the space. There we go, and I may or may not get, yeah, I don't get a center one that's horizontal. That's good. So there's my Life Movie. So this is my title slide. So now how do I add that to my movie? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to File, Save As, and I'm going to save this title slide as a PSD so I can use it to create my other slides that I need into my video clips folder. Make sure all of your videos and images that you need, including MP3 files, your audio files, are all contained in one folder. Photoshop is going to need a link back to your originals in order for it to play. So now that I've got a PSD, I'll save that first. Just say OK to the next window. And now I need File, Save As, a JPEG. There we go. So now we have a JPEG at the size we want with the title we want. And now I'm actually going to create the next few slides that I need. So this is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I'm going to highlight the text. I'm going to change the size while I'm in here. And this is quote by, if you follow in the Word doc in week 9, that tells you exactly what you need to write on each slide and in each slide, and also on top of each video. So quote by Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And this is Paramount Pictures. So we'll give them credit as well here. Now, in the interest of design, I'm going to make quote about 150, quote by, and I'm going to make Ferris much bigger. And I'm going to do this 150, whoops, 120 I think is what I had for the first one. And I'm going to keep Paramount Pictures a little bit smaller. So I've got 120, 150, 120, and 100. But look at the mess I've created with my leading. The space between the lines is far too tight now. So Control A to select all. Where am I going to find that? The leading doesn't exist here like it does in InDesign and Illustrator. So what I need to do is go over to this file folder over here, open that up to reveal the leading right here. Now all my type is 100 points or higher. So I'm definitely going to need, I'm going to type in 150, the biggest one, and that looks pretty good. But Ferris Bueller is still too tight to quote, so I'm going to highlight just Ferris Bueller. And by the way, this works in every one of your Adobe programs, and I'm going to increase that to 180. How does that look? I'm going to click on my move tool, and yep, not too bad. So I'm going to place that. So we want to create some distance because we have these descenders tucking into this space here. We have no descenders on this text here, so we don't have to worry about bumping into the text below. So it's looking pretty good. All right, so now that I've completed this slide, File, Save As, I'm going to change that to a JPEG, but I'm going to make sure I change the title. So this is my quote slide. JPEG and save. Now we can control the amount of compression. 12 is the highest. You can go as right here at 8 and be perfectly fine and get almost the same preview. It'll be just as sharp. So it just depends on what the destination of your file is. If it's being sent off to be printed in high res, then you often want to save at the highest resolution. If you're just typing things out and saving it to add send via email for someone to preview, you can always drop that number right down to reduce the size right here. So JPEGs can control the amount of compression, so 249 here, but I can go to 8 and be perfectly fine with that, and I'm half the size almost. All right, so we'll hit OK, and now we need one more. We need our production slide. So with the text tool, I'm done with that. I've saved a JPEG, so now I can use the same PSD file to now do produced by, and then this time add your name. And video clips. By video blocks. And I actually spelled this wrong in class. There is a C in video blocks. So that's looking pretty good. Again, got to be very careful about this descender. Bam, hitting my little L here. But it still looks okay. It's not cramming right in there. So with my move tool, everything looks pretty good. So I will file, save as, and another JPEG. And this time, this is my production slide or credit slide. And here we go. Control the amount of compression. I'm just going to go for 8 is half decent. 124K, nice and small. Good compression. despite the original size being, if I drag this over, it's almost 9 megabytes here. So it really does a great job compressing the file, but still giving us a beautiful preview when it opens. All right, so now I need to go back to my movie. I've created the 3 title slides I need as still images. I drag my mouse back to my original clip, and here's my timeline. Here we are, and now I need to add more media. So what I'm going to do is click on this very same tab here, and I'm going to click Add Media. And I'm going to add my 3 JPEGs. Don't grab your PSD, so make sure you grab your 3 JPEGs here, and we're going to hit open. Now, where did they go? Well, they actually go to the end of the list, right? Because the stuff that is added first is at the bottom. So now I need to move title slide. I can either do it in my timeline and drag and drop, or in my video group here, in my layers, I can simply drag title slide to the very bottom, which means it's now the very start. These are in the wrong order. Production should go at the end, which means production needs to go to the top. Now, the one thing about these is, we don't have the option to change the length of the film using that little clip, but you can do some really neat motion detection in here. And you can even decide what angle you want it to do. And you can zoom in or you can zoom out. And what the heck does that look like, you wonder? All right, let's see what it looks like. So if I come back here with my timeline, and all you have to do is click in the timeline to show the key, this key thing right here, and hit your play button over to the left. And let's see what that does. So it's actually animating the clip. So here we go. Kind of like Star Wars. In a land far, far away. So there we go. So you can actually create motion in your clip. But then how do we reduce the length of the clip? So I'm going to change this back to no motion. How do we change the length of the clip? Well, there's another way. And notice the video clips are blue, which means they are moving images, and the stills are purple. So I'm going to hover my mouse over the end, and you can see that my mouse turns into this peculiar bracket with double-ended arrows. So I'm going to click on the end, drag to the left, and you can see that the duration is attached to my mouse. I'm going to reduce that to, let's see, 4 seconds. So every single clip that comes in, these stills that you add, actually come in as a default as 5 seconds. And we don't need that length of time necessarily. So I'm going to click and drag this so it's only 3 seconds at the beginning, because Life Movie doesn't take very long to read. So the rule of thumb when you're doing these is you should be able to leave it the length of time that it's on here so that you can actually read it out loud. So let's test it. So I'm going to hit play. Quote by Ferris Bueller, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Stop. All right, see where my key is? I can actually drag this backwards and reduce that clip. So now let's read the next one. Play. Whoops, I should actually read it, shouldn't I? There we go. Produced by Carolyn McLeod, video clips by Video Blocks. Stop. So that's enough time in order to read that. So if we start at the very beginning again, so we click on our timeline. If you click right here in the numbers, it'll bring your key back to the beginning. One more thing before we play this row of clips, before we launch into another video to show you how to add audio and then to add your text on top, let's add those transitions in between. So again, your transition button is right here. I'm going to crossfade and drop it between the 2 clips. Notice it reduces it. I'm going to do that over here between my clips. Now I also want it to fade in and fade out. Well, it's a black slide, so I'm going to fade with black and drop it at the beginning and fade with black at the end. So now that I've done that, Let's see what this whole thing looks like without all this stuff in the way. There we go, and play. All right, so you can see it's a little bit jaggedy. Now we have a problem where, this is what Photoshop can do sometimes. It likes to have fun with you. So you can see that it extended my my crossfade here, and I don't want that. It's a little bit too long. You can see that it stayed short here. Okay. And so if you hold down the control key, I think that's the same on a Mac. If you hold down the control key to get the options, you can see that it's 1 second. So what happened here? What? It changed it to 2.5. So sometimes it does some funky stuff like that, but it's really easy to fix by simply clicking on the clip. Control click to get the, oh, I didn't type something in, right? 1. In order to get that back to the way I wanted it. Oh, it's longer. That's incorrect. I must get the right number. So let's double check this one as well. So it did some funky things with me. This is why you wouldn't want to do a full-length feature film in here, because it would probably not work out so well. All right, so now those are back to the way we wanted them. Perfect. Now I did find that the title slide was a bit long. So I'm actually going to reduce that by clicking on it. And you can see it now overlaps into the next one. But I'm going to reduce that to 2 seconds. It's just far too long. There we go, and everything will push back along with it. So let's start again at the beginning and see how we did adding our slides. That's better. It's not nearly as long. And that gives us time to add the text that we need on top of each video clip. And you could even shorten that a little bit more if you really wanted to. All right. So that's how you create and add your title slides and finish off adding your transitions. And then on to the next video to add audio.